Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Pittsburgh Sports Memories Current Events. We're airing on the 20th of November. So we're going to go over some stuff here. The Penguins, Tim, they went to Stockholm, Sweden to buy some IKEA furniture, baby, have some meatballs, visit the Swedish chef. So they played against Nashville in Sweden, which I'm sure the people in Sweden were really excited. I don't know. They have Forsberg, Nashville, I guess. So on Friday, a game I actually watched at 2:00 in the afternoon for no apparent reason. They lost in OT. They scored a really late goal, with a minute left, and then they lost in OT. But then they played again Sunday at 8 a.m. I did not watch that game. I did other things like going to church, and they won 4-0. So they are third place in the Metropolitan Division. They're behind the Devils at 27 points, the Hurricanes at 25 points. They're at 24, so they're really not even that far up the lead. One game. And Murashov, the rookie, got a shutout in the second game. I thought what's this? Shieldhovs, I can't pronounce his name, played well on Friday, but they just didn't generate enough offense. They'll play the Wild on Friday at the end of the week. Any thoughts on going to Sweden? Did you want some furniture? Did you ask Crosby to bring you back a Hargarten Barton?
Yeah, they got 3 out of 4 points. That's you know, after they had the lead on Friday, you would have liked them to have 4 out of 4 points, but whatever. I mean, we said it last week. It's a young team. They're going to have their ups and downs. They're going to, blow some leads and do stuff like that. But I don't think we could have asked for more at this point in the season, honestly, given what they were up against and what we all thought was going to happen. And we're getting very close to that Thanksgiving milestone.
Yeah. Well, they play the Wild, and I want to say the Kraken on Saturday, Friday.
Yeah, they play the Kraken.
And then I don't know. I know there's a traditional. The 26th is the traditional
Wednesday before.
Yeah, Thanksgiving Day game. So we'll see what happens. I mean, they're pretty close. I think they could lose all 3 and still be in playoff position. So I don't know what that means. Are they going to make the playoffs? I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical, but. What are you going to do, Tim? Hopefully the rookie goaltender, if he pans out, then I think they make the playoffs, Tim. I really do. So I said that. I think I said that at the beginning of the season that they go as far as the goaltending takes them. So
makes sense.
Yeah. So let's get into it. We're going to start Football Palooza, Tim. Yay! And for our Football Palooza, we are going to start with European football. Switched it up on you, didn't I? I only talk about this because we do have a Pittsburgh team in a championship game playing for a championship on Saturday, Tim. No, it is not Pitt volleyball or the Pitt football team, who we'll talk about later. It is the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. And I know Tim is a big fan of the Riverhounds. He can name all their starting 11 players and coaches.
Yeah.
So the Riverhounds made the playoffs. They won 2 playoff games in shootouts. Both were in shootouts. And then they won 1-0 against Rhode Island. I didn't know Rhode Island had a soccer team, but apparently they do. And so now they're heading to Tulsa and for the championship game on Saturday, November 22nd. And here we have some video of Robbie Mertz scoring that goal.
Mertz trying to get it on his right foot. Mertz! The Pittsburgh Kid gives Pittsburgh the lead in the Eastern Conference Final.
And they're going to play November 22nd. And it said CBS Network, but I don't know if that's the CBS Sports Network or regular CBS. I can't imagine CBS is going to show a soccer game in the middle of college football season at noon, right, Tim?
I think it's their cable channel.
Rob Vincent, who's the intern coach, has done a great job. He played for the Riverhounds way back when. I remember him playing. He was a pretty good goal scorer, one guy to watch. And another thing that happened was, and this has been weird because they don't get any coverage in the press. There's this their legendary coach, Bob Lilly, who's won a ton of games, is probably going to be in whatever level of soccer this is, Hall of Fame. He was put on administrative leave and been on administrative leave since October 10th. And I have no idea what that means, why that is, if they're firing him, hiring him, if he's sick, if he, cussed out the owner, Tuffy Schellenberg. I don't know what's going on, but hey, if they make the championship, wouldn't you assume that they're probably not going to keep the services of Bob Lilly unless he's like obviously sick or something?
Probably.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine what's going on with this guy. So it's been a well covered story, Tim.
Oh yeah.
It's funny how under the radar this is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Cole, I'm glad you pointed it out because I had no idea. And it is something it's good for the Riverhounds. And
this could be the most influential championship since the Pittsburgh Triangles of the world.
And the Riverhounds have a nice little fan base of people that are loyal, and so yeah, always nice to see them doing well for sure.
Well, they had another sellout of I think it was 6,000 some, and they have a lot of sellouts in the season, like 6,000 or 7,000 people they can fit in that Highmark Stadium. But by comparison, the Tulsa team had a sellout of 9,000, so. They do play in a pretty small stadium. I know the owner wants to expand the stadium, so maybe Pitt will go play over there instead. I don't know. We'll see. And anyway, getting on to Pitt football here. Yes, Tim. They lost to Notre Dame 37-15.
And it wasn't even that close.
Probably not. No. Really, it wasn't. Narduzzi's comments saying that he didn't care if Notre Dame hung 100 on him. Well, I mean, Notre Dame didn't hang even 50 on him, but that's because Notre Dame's quarterback stinks. I'm just going to say, I know this sounds like sour grapes and we lost to the guy, but he threw 2 horrendous interceptions that if Pitt would have had any little bit of offense, they would have made a game. That should have been a much closer game. If Pitt had any offense, it literally looked like Pitt had a regular defense with the offense from Western Carolina in coaching, in talent, in just every which way. And I will say this, early on, Pitt had some wide receivers open and Heitzel hit the 2 guys and they both dropped the ball. And it seemed from there, then he gets sacked on a 4th and 4 because they were like the 30-some yard line. And it just seemed to go downhill from there. Notre Dame's defense just totally had the Pitt offense figured out. So
I think one of 2 things is true. I think number one, that game was too big for them. College game day was here, all that stuff. It was just too big for, at least for the offense. Like you said, the defense was actually pretty decent.
They kept them in the game probably longer, but the defense didn't. Like, it's a whole story of Notre Dame made plays. Notre Dame had a guy jump up and make an amazing catch. Notre Dame had another play where literally the defense on the opening drive had a 4th and 4, and the safety or whatever came in to tackle their stud running back, and he just literally made a move and outran the guy. And if he tackles him there, you get Notre Dame off the field, and maybe you get some momentum. And even when Pitt's defense returns a touchdown, interceptions for touchdowns still in the 3rd quarter, they give up the 2-point the other way. So the offense was just that's from the top down. That's from Cade Bell down to the receivers. I just that disappointed me. The coaching disappointed me. The talent level disappointed me. Desmond Reed, I don't know whoever thought he was going to make the NFL. He's too small. He's fast, but that's about it. And he gets hurt all the time. He's like a discount Lerod Stevens-Howling. He's Lerod Stevens-Howling if Lerod Stevens-Howling got hurt all the time and couldn't block anybody.
So yeah, either that game was too big for them, but they learned a lot of lessons about how to be properly prepared for big time college football, and they'll learn from it and they'll take that into the next 2 games. Or the second possibility is they're just not as good as the teams who are contending for the CFP. I think that's the only 2 outcomes of last week's game. And we're going to find out now because, I mean, Narduzzi, as much of a blowhard as he is, and as much as those comments were tone deaf and stupid, he's right. That game really didn't matter in terms of, their postseason aspirations. These next 2 games do matter. So was that game too big for them? And now the 18-year-old freshman, is going to come back and be like, okay, I've been through the ringer. I've been through big time college football. I can handle it. Or are they just going to kind of fall apart knowing that, Georgia Tech and Miami and Notre Dame are just in a whole another class than they are?
I really hope they don't make the ACC Championship Game because I really don't think they're ready. I just don't think they have enough talent, especially
I'd hate
offense.
for my team to do well.
I don't know, Tim. I'd
hate for them to go far and do well.
But it seems like they'll get blown out. I don't know.
So what? Maybe, I'd rather them be there and get blown.
I guess you're right.
The year they got blown up by Clemson, I was still happy they were there.
Yeah, that's true. Even Kenny Pickett completed 7, 8 passes.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. Maybe they do turn around. I just don't see it. Maybe, I doubt Georgia Tech. And although I don't know, didn't Florida State beat Notre Dame the first game of the season or something like that?
Notre Dame had 2 losses early, but they bounced back from it.
I think they're a running team with the defense, and as long as their quarterback doesn't have to be relied upon to beat you, they're going to be fine. But they're going to run into teams that are going to be able to stop that running back, and then they're going to be in trouble because that quarterback's a turnover machine.
Yeah, I don't think Notre Dame's going to be back in the championship game this year, but I don't really care too much about Notre Dame after this game. I just care about.
I can't stand it. There's 3 teams I can't stand in college football, and they're definitely still number 1. I can't stand them, Penn State, and then West Virginia. That in that order. I just, what are the arrogance of that effing team? And then they were like, oh, we were all mad because he said this game didn't matter. What do you care? You're freaking Notre Dame. You're like a national, Pitt's like a nobody to you. Although I think Pitt's always been kind of in their heads after they beat them. Now Pitt hasn't beat them in 6 or 7 years, and they've gotten blown out the last 2 times. But remember that one year, it definitely was a Notre Dame fan, just named oh, Bill Stahl, one of the running backs and 2 of the receivers were they were on the south side riding. They called in a tip to the media. It was why are you that scared of Pitt? It's good gravy.
Yeah, I know a lot of people hate Notre Dame, and I understand why. I'm definitely not in that camp. I don't like them. I used to at one point kind of like them. I'm just kind of neutral. They don't bother me as much as you talk about arrogant. I mean, to me, Penn State's a whole other class, but that's a separate topic. The question again for Pitt is, are they ready for big time college football, or are they not? And maybe they'll be more ready next year whenever Heinzel's a sophomore and have more experience.
It's been a good coaching job overall by Narduzzi. This game aside, that defense is decimated by injuries. It really is. And to be able to at least keep them in the game, that's pretty. They just needed their offense to score points. This is the lowest point total they've had since Heichel's been a quarterback, right? Since the West Virginia game.
By far. And they got guys back. They got Biles back. Yeah. And they had Desmond Reed back. So it's they even had that bye week. They had time to prepare.
It's disappointing because it just looked like there was such a big talent disparity. It wasn't Pitt gave a good fight and they lost in the fourth quarter. Notre Dame just pulled away. I just feel like they weren't even on the same it felt like a Division I playing the Division 1A team.
Remember that year that the Penguins, it was Crosby and Malkin. It was their first trip to the playoffs. We were playing
Ottawa. And Ottawa was an experienced team that had been there. And it wasn't Ottawa was all that great. It just, they blew, the Penguins out of the water. They just weren't ready.
That's exactly what's there. It felt like it's hey, this is a team this team was in the national championship game last year. They're experienced. They're every week for them is national TV, tens of thousands of fans, tons of attention, and then here's Pitt with college game day coming and all the ESPN guys fawning all over Narduzzi. You had Nick Saban there talking about how nobody's done more with less than Pat Narduzzi.
Wow.
I mean, it was just, and McAfee was there. I mean, It was just a big, huge like setup for. You could feel it was kind of like a setup for failure because it was just like, what a great program, what an amazing. But again, the good news is that, like Narduzzi said, they could have lost 100-0, and their aspirations for the postseason are still alive if they can somehow win these next 2 games and get a little bit of help. And that's all you can ask for.
Georgia Tech almost lost to, who did they play? It wasn't anybody.
They don't need Georgia Tech to lose. They need Virginia
or
SMU. Yeah. Because Georgia Tech they play. So they'll take care if they control that, but they need Virginia or SMU. I don't think they're going to win the next 2 games, Steve, but
ESPN keeps predicting Miami's going to be in the college football playoff. And then there's some weird rule where like you have to be ranked in the top 5 of the I thought it was an automatic bid if you won your conference, but apparently you have to be ranked in the top 5 or something like that.
It's the top 5. You take
conference winners,
the highest ranked conference winners. So it's pretty automatic.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to.
Well, I will say this: Pitt has to play 2 ranked teams. It isn't like they're playing unranked teams, so that should help bolster them. And then they'll have to play another ranked team in the championship game. So they would have beaten 3 ranked teams.
Yeah, so. if they win the ACC, they'll be in the playoff. But that's a tall task. I mean, they have to win 3 games in a row against basically the 3 best teams in the conference. Can they do that? Probably not. Is it possible? Yeah. And is it cool that it's at least possible?
If the quarterback can play like he was and not be too overwhelmed by the moment, if the offensive coordinator can figure it out, that's a lot of big ifs. So maybe it's just a growing year and a learning year, and we'll see you next year. But moving on to a team that probably shouldn't be saying see you next year, that would be your Pittsburgh Steelers, Tim. They're your team, not mine. No.
Well, since you don't want to see your teams do well, I guess not.
Yeah.
I love the Steelers missed the playoffs.
Yeah, that's why I love the Browns. They miss the playoffs every year. You're never disappointed. It's like, I hope the Browns miss the playoffs. So the Steelers, they went over the Bengals 34-12. Rodgers actually hurt his left hand. Jaylen Warren, he got hurt also, but he had 10 carries for 62 yards. Rodgers was 9 for 15 for 116 yards and a touchdown before he got hurt. And that was only 1 half. And then Mason Rudolph comes in and does his thing, does Mason Rudolph type things. 12 for 16, 127 yards, 1 TD. It was really lots of screen passes. It was the definition of dink and dunk. That my favorite play of the game was, I think there was a 1st and 25. Like, I think I can't remember if we had a personal foul or a holding call. It was like 1st and 25 from like the Cincinnati 45. And this is why the Cincinnati defense is the gift that keeps on giving. You're figuring they throw a screen pass, just figuring, well, we'll get 5 or 6 yards, get another 5 or 6 yards. Make it a makeable 3rd down. Maybe we get it. We'll just kick a field goal, right? No, Kenneth Gainwell literally gets a 35-yard gain. Picks up all the yardage on 1 play. It wasn't even close. It wasn't like he had to break any tackles or anything. He had like a wide how does somebody get that wide? And then on the touchdown later in that drive, like that should have been a no gain play. Like the guy for Cincinnati just like they can't tackle. Like I don't know how you have a defense that can't tackle, but I guess that's why they're the worst in the NFL. And they end up being the play that turned the game was Kyle Duggar, the interception return for a touchdown. Because it was 9-13 at that. Hey, 13-9 at that point. So the Bengals were driving, but it was a nice play by Kyle Duggar in the defense. Jalen Ramsey got stupidly ejected on a 4th and 1. He said Jamar Chase spit on him. There's some video of that. Like Mike Tomlin said, hey, it's just water. You don't have to punch the guy. If he just would have stood there and not punched him and got spit on, maybe the refs don't see it. Maybe Jamar Chase gets suspended and you get to play the rest of the game. Because, like you said, Tim, I think the Steelers have finally figured out their secondary. They have, what's his name? Ramsey at 1 safety. They got this Duggar guy at the strong spot. And then who they got? They got Darius Slay and Joey Porter Jr. And that seems to be a respectable secondary because they really did hold the Bengals in check much better this week than last time.
Yeah, and even James Pierre, because Slay didn't play. Yeah. James Pierre played really, really well.
Yeah.
So, that got me thinking, Steve, because you're right. They seem like they have figured out a lot, especially if you look at the last Bengals game to this Bengals game, the trajectory is just astounding.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, why is it that we always blame Mike Tomlin whenever the Steelers lose, but we never give him credit when they win? Because it's like you go back to the first Cincinnati game, the defense was an absolute sieve, and
but it's that Thursday game. I don't know what it is with those.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even before that, or even after that, the Packers game was the same thing.
Yeah,
gave up 35 points or whatever to the Packers, and the games before that, we were giving up tons of yards and points, and so they changed schemes. They cut their starting free safety.
Yeah.
Traded for this Duggar guy, moved Jalen Ramsey.
Well, I think it works out because Duggar's seemed to be more of a run stopper, and Ramsey can play the pass, so it seems to be working out.
Right, it does, but it's like, who made those changes? It's all coaching and personnel changes, and so shouldn't the head coach get at least a little bit of credit for that? And I'm no Tomlin apologist. Tomlin has flaws, but I hate that we have such little capacity to be objective about anything in our culture. And that's true about, politics and news and everything. But it's like we have this narrative that we formed, and by God, we're going to stick to it no matter what evidence comes. And so it's just, and if they lose to the Bears next week and the defense gives up, 28 points to Caleb Williams, Tomlin's defense, Tomlin doesn't know anything, Tomlin should be fired.
The Bears have been good this year, though.
But I'm just saying that's what we do every time we lose. And it's like, when we win and we make all this improvement and we shake things up and we say, hey, the defense is a real problem, and we change a bunch of things to make it not a big problem these last 3 weeks. No one ever says, oh, great coaching by Tomlin. Everybody just wants to blame him when he loses. Like I said, I'm not trying to be a Tomlin apologist, but you have to be objective. You can't just say we lost because of this guy, but we didn't win because of him. You have to be objective. You can criticize him. He deserves criticism a lot, for sure. And he'd be the first person, I'm sure, to admit that. But then you got to give him some credit when they make the right choices. All right, I'll step off my soapbox, but that just bothers me.
Well, I will say this. The defense is kind of the same defense it has been. When they're not getting turnovers, they tend to give up a lot of points. And when they do get turnovers, they seem to win games. And I mean, maybe that's a little simplistic, but it just seems like they have to get turnovers to really – they're not like a defense that isn't going to give up a lot of yards or maybe some points here and there.
Maybe. It was 13-9. You said it was 13-9.
Yeah, it was.
Whenever
that was in the third quarter, yeah. So they really did play a lot better. And it was windy, but it wasn't that windy. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they played well. They played okay last week against the Chargers. That we talked about that game. That really wasn't on the defense, and they played great against the Colts, who were the best offense in football up to that point. So I'm not saying they're the 76 defense all of a sudden. They're not, but they took what they had and they improved it, I think, greatly in the span of a month by making moves. And that's not the first time we've seen that. Remember the year they went to Super Bowl 30 when Cowher was the coach? Remember how awful that defense was when they were 3-4 and they moved Carnell Lake to safety and they put Willie Williams. Remember all those changes? And it was the same thing. It was like all of a sudden it stabilized everything that had been a huge problem before that. So it is possible to adjust mid-season without, having to do a whole lot. So I don't know. I just think Tomlin and the coaching staff deserve some credit for that.
Well, before I trash Mike Tomlin, I'm not really trash. I'm just going to make fun of him. Do you want me to complain about the refs first, or make fun of Mike Tomlin first?
I mean, complain about the refs, but I mean, I will say, in fairness, they hosed both sides.
Well, yes, they did. On Mike Tomlin, since we're on the subject of Mike Tomlin, we have the Mike Tomlin late season checklist now. Okay. Do we have a bunch of starters injured? Yes. Have we had our Thursday night inexplicable loss? Yes. Do we have a backup quarterback playing? Yes. Will we lose in the first round of the playoffs? Maybe.
Probably.
So we have our Mike Tomlin checklist almost filled out for the season.
The only thing
we'll finish above 500. That's the other thing on the little
right.
Mike Tomlin checklist.
Yeah, we also haven't had him lose like a challenge yet. I don't remember him losing a challenge this season, so we still need that on the bingo card.
But the refs, I came when I sat down to watch the game. Did you go to the game this week, Tim?
I did not.
Okay, well, whoever went to the game in place of you, they went there and they were like, I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to see Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. I want to see Joe Flacco. I don't want to see Chase Brown. I don't want to see any of those guys. None of the players. I do not come to see the players. I come to see Bill Vinovich throw flags because that's what I pay to see. I want to see this guy and how he officiates a game. That fascinates me to no end, and I wish he could throw more flags. Yay, Bill, you are the best. What a horrible job of officiating. Where to begin with this idiot? And I'm going to complain about this guy for the next 5 minutes because I don't care, because he's terrible. He ruined the game. There was a play where TJ Watt literally hit the ball as he was sacking Joe Flacco. That's a tipped ball. You cannot rough the passer on a tipped ball. No, roughing the passer. There was a play for the Bengals, like you said. They were god awful on both sides. The guy hit Aaron Rodgers. It was like a legit hit. Like, I think it was JJ Watt was calling the game. It was like, I don't know why that's a penalty. He missed the Jamar Chase spitting on Jalen Ramsey. It was just terrible all the way around. It was called way too tight, too many flags, too much stupidity. Please retire.
Yeah, you forgot about the ticky-tack.
There was so much
interference call on DK Metcalf that negated like a 30-yard bomb from Rudolph.
That was a perfect pass, yeah.
Or when the Steelers had like 4th and 1, and it looked like Cincinnati totally stopped them.
Yeah.
And they're just like, first down. It's like, okay, I didn't see that, but we'll take it.
It wasn't, you can't even blame they were calling because they screwed both teams.
Oh, yeah. It was not one. I mean, yeah, it was totally both sides. At least they're equal opportunity offenders. But yeah, the officiating's been bad this year. I don't, and obviously that's a subjective opinion. I just argued about everybody being objective, but there's been a couple of games where it's just been like flag after flag after flag. It's been insane.
Well, that's enough talk about. I mean, I'm sure he appreciates that, but
hey, speaking of injustices, I totally disagree with this Jamar Chase suspension. I mean, do we even know what Ramsey said? I mean, I really think he should appeal. I don't think this is right. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's on my fantasy team. I'm battling for a playoff spot. I'm being totally objective now.
So you're taking the Myles Garrett defense,
right? Yes, he was provoked into it somehow. I don't know how, but they should totally not suspend him until after the fantasy football season is over.
So, like we've mentioned a couple of times, they're playing the Bears. The Bears are 7-3, leading their division against the Steelers, who are 6-4, leading their division. And I really, really hope Aaron Rodgers gets to play this game, because before the season, like, I don't know what Aaron Rodgers' record against the Bears is, but it's like ungodly. He owns the freaking Bears. So hopefully he's healthy for the game. If not, hopefully Mason can score enough points to where, I mean, the Bears defense isn't all that great, is it? I don't know.
Yeah, this is the most fraudulent, like this late in the season, battle of first place teams ever. I mean, no fun. The Steelers are having a nice, decent little season. The Bears, good for them. They have really good coach now, I think. But come on, like, these are not real contenders, I don't think. I'd love to be wrong about that for the Steelers, and maybe even for the Bears. I mean, good for them. but this is just a totally fraudulent first place battle. I do think that we're recording this early in the week, so we, for what we know now, Rodgers reportedly has like a fracture in his hand. I don't think he's going to play. Rudolph, that's going to be interesting, Steve, because
what if Rudolph plays again? Well, again, yeah.
Yeah, and Rodgers has not looked great the last 2 weeks. He's got super happy feet now in the pocket.
Maybe they give him some rest. If like Rudolph plays well, maybe they can give him like another week or two off. I said that how many weeks ago? I thought
you said
Rudolph
at the beginning of the year he needs to play like 3 or 4 games. And Rodgers just like, it was interesting watching Rudolph in the second half of that game because he just stood still in the pocket and he never got touched once. And I just thought that was interesting because when Rodgers dances around like that, it makes it really hard to block for him. And then he was getting pressured and hit. That play, got hurt. He got slammed by 2 guys. I'm surprised there was no flag because, they threw a flag for everything else.
I thought they did throw a flag on that one.
Yeah, maybe they did, but
they threw a flag on everything.
Yeah, they threw a flag on. but yeah, Rodgers is getting real happy feet, and Rudolph's always been really good at that. He just stands in the pocket. And then he was really crisp on some of those passes. He was only in for 2 drives. The Steelers only had the ball twice in the second half, and they scored both times, and they were moving the ball well. And they probably would have got a touchdown on both drives if not for the aforementioned ticky-tack pass interference call where they only got a field goal. So, that was the Bengals defense. That was at home. Soldier Field, Steve, fun fact.
The Steelers haven't probably won there since 95.
So they've been playing there at Soldier Field since 1936. That game in 1995, that's the only time they've ever won out there.
I knew it. See, it's like when they play, like when the Steelers play like those old school NFL teams, like the Lions, the Packers, the Giants, the Bears. It's like they flash back to like all those years they stunk. It's like, oh my gosh, we can't beat these teams. Oh no.
Old man Hollis has a good game plan today.
It's like, oh no, Walt Kiesling will never be able to. It's like, God.
Yeah. So they literally have not won out there in 30 years.
Since that game in 95 against Eric Kramer, who holds the passing yards record for the Bears, and they're thinking Caleb Williams has a shot at breaking Eric Kramer's record.
And that was Dave Wanstead was their coach.
Yeah,
that's how long ago that was. And before that, they had never won out there, and they've been playing out there again since 1936 was the first time they played in Soldier Field.
I mean, not regularly since 1970, so maybe that stat's a little skewed.
It is. I think they've literally only played in Chicago twice since the turn of the century. I could have that wrong, but it's not a lot.
Well, hopefully the Bears don't bear down in Chicago. We can, continue the ownership as the Bears, as Rodgers said. But it's been fun doing these. Keep following us. Tell us what you think of all our comments. If you really like officiating and you like all the flags being thrown, please like and comment us on Facebook. If not, whatever. If you want to spit on us, that's okay. We won't throw a punch back if you do. And thank you for tuning in, and we'll check you out next time.
And visit my new website, justiceforjamar.org.